Hello.
Hi.
Hi, welcome to A Writer's Desk, everybody. I hope you can see me and hear me. Sounds like Tommy, doesn't it? Anyway, and I hope you're staying healthy and well. These are difficult times, aren't they? We're all stuck at home, climbing up the walls, separated from friends and family. Can't even go to the pub. But we got books, we got literature, and they seem more important than ever, don't they? They take us on a journey to other worlds, they captivate us, they entertain us. And here at Writer's Desk, you're going to hear some exciting authors talk about their books, their passions, and yes, their desks. We've got a great lineup in the next few weeks. We've got Tom Holland coming on Thursday. We've got Isabel Tree, we've got Simon Winchester. Today, we have a real treat. We have acclaimed Holocaust biographer, Dune Macadam, author of a wonderful book called 999, The Extraordinary Young Women of the First Jewish Transport to England. There it is. It's called the 900 in England. Thanks, Heather. And here we are. Welcome, Heather.
Thanks, Simon.
Should we give them full disclosure?
I think so.
Heather's also my wife, but that's not the reason I think this is a wonderful book. It's a groundbreaking book. That's a sort of historical Me Too book that you can't say many times that there's a entirely new Holocaust book which throws new light on the Holocaust, but this is one, and it's an amazing book. I so recommend it. Heather, can you just briefly introduce yourself and say where you're speaking from?
I can. Well, I'm speaking from downstairs. We are in Herefordshire, England, which is on the border of the Black Mountains in Wales, but we're in England. This is my dog, Dylan Thomas Wagglebottom, who thinks it's time for dinner.
Yeah.
You can go down. But I have two desks, and this is my desk in England, voila, which is actually quite new. And I'm just going to turn this sound down. Sorry, getting a little bit of feedback here. So it's brand new. Very happy to have it. And I'll show you a bit about it. Should I do that, Simon?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, please.
So actually I'm going to run a screen share. So that's my computer here. Let's see. So I like little tokens on my desk. I don't know, like amulets or something. So first of all, I'm working. I'm doing the page proofs for the paperback, making corrections for the paperback. I have some candles here. I have books. This is research. I like glasses, so I have lots of glasses. This is my first offense, which I use whenever I go out. And this was
a view of the garden.
Okay, this is my birthday card from my husband, and it's one of my favorite painting series at the Tate Modern, which is Rothko, and it says "Love in the Time of Corona."
Did he coin that phrase? Because you see it everywhere now, isn't it?
I know. I think he did. So this is my view out of my window, off my desk. I have pictures of us. Wait. I have pictures of us when we were young and gorgeous. And this is my camera. I'm working on a documentary. And this is a beautiful watercolor that a friend of ours did. That's the front of our house in England.
No, but this is
everything.
As you've said, this is just a temporary desk, because actually you've got an interesting COVID lockdown story because you normally at this time of the year would be back on Long Island and you got stuck here, didn't you? So
I did.
tell us about that and how you're coping.
Yeah, so I was on book tour in Europe. We had just come back from Madrid, right before everything shut down in Italy, or amped up before they shut down. And I was supposed to continue my book tour, which immediately was canceled. And I was supposed to be doing some touring in April in America and then to Mexico in May. And instead I'm in England. As the borders were closing, I made a conscious decision to stay here. I'm glad I did because I think it's safer. We live very, very rurally here. Lots of sheep for neighbors. And yeah, and actually the way it's going, I don't know when I'll be able to get back. So I'm glad, because even though my husband and I are driving each other a bit crazy in isolation, I'd be crazier if we were separated. So yeah. So you want to see my desk in America?
Of course we do. Yeah.
So I have to go back to screen share.
Mothership.
Hang on, there we go. And there.
Ah.
So I'm a bit of a slob. And
No, I can't believe that.
Thanks. So yeah, so this is sort of it's quite a big desk and I love it. You could sleep on it. And before I got this desk, I got it in 1996. I worked on a door and 2 file cabinets. And then my mom and my brother, my first book had come out and they gave me this desk as a Christmas present, I think. So yeah, so I'm going to show you some other. So here we've got, you can see my Post-it notes. Some of these have been, I had actually cleared off some of this because this is right before I left. These are lots of receipts that I need to do for taxes. Thank goodness that's been postponed. My printer and so these are the Post-its. When I was working on 999, I created a timeline of Post-its all the way along my wall. And anytime I had a change or something, I added a Post-it so I knew to go in and add it to the book. So a lot of that is gone now, but anyway, that's what's left over. I love Post-it notes. This is just some of my art. This is probably a very important piece of scrap paper that has lots of notes on it. Up here, you can see a David Hockney postcard. I love Hockney's work. And I got this just as I was leaving my job at Savannah College of Art and Design. And it says, "I can fly." And so I keep that by my desk.
I saw a bottle.
Oops. Yeah, we're coming to the, so this is my Bible, the Auschwitz Chronicle. It's the day-to-day workings of the death camp, SS records. And you can see it has been used quite a bit. It's fallen apart. I have loads. You can't see the front part of it. Lots and lots of Post-it notes in there. This is a portable hard drive, files, and think that I need to go back to go to what Simon was asking about, which is here. I don't think I have a close-up of it. This is my favorite whiskey, Irish whiskey. It's called Writer's Tears. And I found it when I was in the midst of my edit. was very close to having a nervous breakdown. And yeah, so it's now empty.
Yeah, I suppose it's an appropriate name for the bottle that you would have, your go-to whiskey. It must be incredibly exhausting and upsetting writing about young women, many of whom end up being gassed in Auschwitz. How do you cope with that, or don't you?
Well, the truth is, I'm a very big swimmer and I'm a very big dancer. So both Simon and I salsa dance every Wednesday night in the summer. And every afternoon I go for a swim in the ocean at 2:00. And sometimes I scream a little underwater, but yeah, that's it's really important for me to get up and stretch and exercise. But you know, it is intense. I do want to address one thing about desks, and that is I never do my creative writing at a desk. I do it in bed, or this is so I hope I don't lose the screen here. This is the chair. There's Dylan. That's the chair that I like to sit in about 5:00 in the morning. And the sun rises out there. That's our car. This is the view that we have. There's fields of sheep. And this is where I sit and write as the sun is rising when I'm doing my creative work. And the desk is for editing, organization, like Post-its and research, and sitting there and really.
How long did it take you to write this last book?
Oh God, I mean, it's been 8 years of research, and it was a full year, 1 year full on writing and editing. But I've been writing quite a bit of chunks of it.
You have to go back to your desk, as it's a bit hard to see you there, that you're backlit. Sorry. So for 8 years, that's an unimaginable amount of time. We've not got a lot of time left, so perhaps just tell everybody a little bit about your book.
Well, I think it's the writing process is more interesting. And you know, like, so right now, this is changes for the paperback. It doesn't matter how many times you go through a book, there's always mistakes. And I am really grateful to my readers and the families. So, you know, this book is a compilation of stories from the Shoah Foundation, Yad Vashem, family history, and survivor testimony, and personal interviews that I've done with survivors and witnesses. And people, you know, send me an email going, oh, you got this wrong. Like, you know, you should have written Kiddush instead of Kaddish. And, you know, it just little tiny things. And this is after having 2 copy editors, and you read it, and I've read it so many times, and my editor read it. There's still mistakes. And, you know, it is tireless. A friend of mine, we refer to writing as running a marathon. And short stories are not marathons, but books. And the idea and the beginning creation is the first part of the marathon. The writing is the middle bit. And the end is publicity. So right when you're really tired, and hopefully moving on to your next project, you have to go out and have faith in this work. You have to deal with reviews if they're not positive. Fortunately, mine are. And then it's very celebratory, but you know, it's exhausting work. And I think people don't always get that. They think it's quite easy to write. I've never found it. I mean, I love writing and I'm very energized by my work. But it's all consuming. It consumes your mind, your soul, your body, your dreams, and and uh, and Simon can attest to. You know, I can be a real bitch when I'm writing a project. Don't bother
No, it's
me.
not true. It's not true. Well, Heather, that we're almost out of time. But have you got anything you'd like to say to, you know, inspire people? Perhaps a message from your book.
Well, you know, the girls in Auschwitz dealt with epidemic. It was terrifying. They didn't know where it was coming from. They didn't have medical resources. They could not isolate. We are so lucky to have science, to have hopefully political leaders that are giving us direction to stay home,
Mm-hmm.
to self-isolate, to Zoom. Like yesterday, we had a family Zoom and we drank Prosecco with Aperol, and you know, it was because we couldn't be together for the Easter, Passover holidays, right? So I think it's really important to pay attention to the science, and to not lose hope. I am having a lot of trouble focusing. I feel really exhausted. I'm just like really tired all the time. I think that's the stress of what's happening in the world. It makes me very empathetic to what Edith and the other girls, it must have been like in Auschwitz, a little tiny bit, dealing with epidemic and terror, and the unknown. And so, you know, wash your hands, don't breathe on each other, be kind to each other, and stay socially distant.
That's great. Thank you. Well, sadly, we've reached the end of another fascinating interview. And I think it just shows that we need writers' voices now more than ever. So keep joining us. This coming Thursday, I'll be speaking to historian Tom Holland, who is a historian of the ancient world and had a fascinating piece in the Sunday Times a few weeks ago about contagions and epidemics in ancient Greece and Rome, and I'm sure you'll be speaking about that. But for the moment, thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
And
Say
thank
bye,
you.
Dylan.
Bye-bye. Thank you all for watching. Stay safe and well. And till next time, goodbye from A Writer's Desk. Thank you. Goodbye.
Namaste.